So here we are, round 2 of Will It Bounce?
Will it bounce? Will it bounce? Will it bounce? Will it bounce?
Yeah.
Will it bounce? Will it bounce? Or fall flat? Will it bounce? Will it bounce?
It's bouncing, baby.
So just to remind you guys, here's how the game works. You're supposed to determine if it'll bounce or if it'll fall flat. If it bounces above 3 inches after hitting the concrete, it bounces. If it doesn't, it falls flat. Let's play the game. Oh, this thing is wobbly. You know what? I'm tired of this thing. That was awesome. This chair, dude. This chair is pretty lumpy. You know what? You guys think this will bounce? Who needs a fan with a breeze like this? Do you think this will bounce or fall flat? Bounce or fall flat? Almost ate right there. What? Will it bounce or will it fall flat? Will it bounce? Take 2. Will it bounce or will it fall flat? There we go, that's better.
Will it bounce? Will it bounce? Will it bounce? Will it bounce?
Yeah.
Will it bounce? Will it bounce? Or fall flat? Will it bounce? Will it bounce?
It's bouncing, baby.
Hey everybody, so tonight we are continuing the pause of just spending time with God, and one of the ways we wanted to do that was by looking at the Psalms of David, the great King David, King of Israel, who was known as a man after God's own heart. And we look at these because, again, the pause of David allows us to just look at a real person, a man, and yet somebody who did great things and did great things in the power of God. But it's in these pauses that we get real pictures of where he is, times of joy, times of struggle, times of where he is just broken down and beaten, times where he's Yeah, just so many different ways that we see his interaction with God, the pause and what it looked like for a godly man. And so I wanted us to look at a specific psalm tonight, Psalm 60, which is interesting because it's kind of a psalm that David is pleading for the country of Israel. He's pleading for us as a nation and looking for God's presence. And, as I think about July 4th and we've celebrated, our independence and we've celebrated our nation. And, we think about things about our nation, that we were a nation founded on biblical principles. Now, obviously, we look at our history as a country and there are things that you go, how did we ever do such, commit such atrocities to people, whether you look at slavery, whether you look at just different things and you go, how we, came into this country and what we did to the Native Americans that were here. I mean, there's a lot of things you can look at and go, how do we do that in God's name? I don't know. I can't reconcile it. Obviously, that's not God's heart. It's not what he wanted it to be. And so, but I still believe that as a nation, we were trying to be founded on godly principles. And so you look at things like with, whether it's on your money and, in God we trust, whether you think about the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. We think about the motto of Ohio. I couldn't believe it when I went to get my license the first time and it said on the wall, here was this motto of Ohio, all things, with God, all things are possible. And so, I think about this and I think about David, and here's this man. I'm going to read this Psalm 60 tonight, and I want us to just talk a little bit about that. It says, you have rejected us, O God, and broken our defenses. You've been angry with us. Now restore us to your favor. You've shaken our land and split it open. Seal the cracks, for the land trembles. You've been very hard on us, making us drink wine that sent us reeling. But you've raised the banner for those who fear you. So there's several things in here. We look at some of what they're going through, but you also look at these statements of David's in a trust in God and a belief in God and what's possible with God. For those who fear you, a rallying point in the face of attack. Now rescue your beloved people. Answer and save us by your power. God has promised this by his holiness. I will divide up Shechem with joy. I will measure out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, and Manasseh too. Ephraim, my helmet, will produce my warriors, and Judah, my scepter, will produce my kings. Moab, my wash basin will become my servant, and I will wipe my feet on Edom, and shout in triumph over Philistia. These are geographical places, and they're speaking to the promise that God made to Abram, of this promised land. And these different points are pointing to north, south, east, and west, this area that was promised to the Israelites by God. And he's speaking to these different areas and saying that, God, you have given this to us. I believe that this is what you want us to have. This is the land you've promised us. And he's speaking to the enemies of theirs, of the Moabites, and you think about the Philistines, and we think about the Edomites and people who were enemies of theirs. And he's speaking to the fact that God still is going to fulfill his promise. God is still going to be powerful over these enemies. But then David goes on to say, who will bring me into the fortified city? Who will bring me victory over Edom? Have you rejected us, O God? Will you no longer march with our armies? Oh, please help us against our enemies, for all human help is useless. With God's help, we will do mighty things, for he will trample down our foes. So David's saying in this thing, who will bring me into the fortified city? And when I go in and I'm attacking this, am I going in my power or am I going in your power? And he's basically saying, if I'm going in my power, I know we're going to fail. If we go in your power, he's saying if for human help is useless. If you're not going with us, that's not going to happen. But with God's help, we can do mighty things and trample down our foes. I think about our nation, and I think about, just that this is when I think about the pause and I think about the intentionality of spending time with God. Do we plead on behalf of our country? Do we plead on behalf of our nation to go, God, we are never going to be a great nation. without you. God, we are never going to be able to overcome some of the things that so divide us right now if we aren't pleading to God and asking him to be a part of this. It's not going to happen on our own human abilities. It's just not going to happen. As we think about those things, so I want to encourage you guys to be in prayer for us as a country. It's praying for us as a country that we are once again, that maybe once again, or maybe for the first time ever, we truly are a godly nation, that we really are, seeking God, that we really are thinking about when it talks about loving one another, what does that look like and how do we do that? And as we think about the things that so often divide us right now, how do we think about praying to a God that can bring us together and realizing that a unity and the greatness of this country is never going to happen if it's on our own ability, if it's not with his power. And, I think about, again, this is David this was a battle he was leading into. This was something that he was having to deal with as a king. So it was speaking to also what he specifically was dealing with. And so I say this because I want us to be mindful of, praying bigger than ourselves, not always just thinking about me, that I'm praying about my nation. I'm praying about our country. When I think about the things we're struggling with, I take those things to God. But I also realize this is a personal thing for David because this is what he was dealing with as a king. So be big in what you're bringing to God. But acknowledge that very thing that he's saying, that, with God's help, we can do amazing things. But in our own power, we're never going to be able to do that. So, hey, hope you guys are having a great weekend. Hope you have a great week. And Psalm 60, encourage you to read it. And just think about that. Spend some time this week praying for our nation, the United States, praying for us as a country, that we are truly a godly nation and who God wants us to be. And pray also, for those things specific, those big things in your life, and asking God to give victory there, realizing that it's only going to happen in his power. Have a great night. Talk to you guys soon.